flames we find our beat. With every swing of fate we mold, in honor's name our tale is told.